Consistent self-improvement, everybody. I am Classic Carpenter, and you are listening to American gypC Podcast. I'm here today with my co-host,
gypC,
and we have a special guest today by the name of Wajid. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, Classic gypC. Great to be on your show.
Glad to have you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. My name's Wajid Hassan. I was originally born in Pakistan many moons ago, and my parents lived in the slums of Pakistan in the city I was born in, Lahore, and they decided when I was at the age of 3 to move to England. So we couldn't afford plane tickets and airplanes and whatever. So it was an epic journey of 5 weeks going through different countries by by bus and train. And it gives me an appreciation of refugees and migrants these days, what they have to go through to try to get to another country. So I applaud my parents for making this trip, which was pretty arduous. And it was me, my 3 siblings, and my mother was 6 months pregnant at the time.
Wow.
And it was a long haul. I don't remember much of it, being only 3 years old, but the journey consisted of different buses and trains through Afghanistan, Iran, Turkey, Greece, Austria, then on to France, and then crossing the channel, English Channel, to England.
Wow.
And then
I'm from Mississippi. Sorry to interrupt you. I'm from Mississippi, and my wife is from East Africa, so I have a deep respect for that journey here. So even as you talk about your journey here, it's she's familiar with as far as that transition here. But even just to hear it, every time I hear it from a different person, this is just
absolutely.
Yeah,
we'll discuss East Africa because I've been there as well, gypC.
So
that later.
Yeah, I'm from Eritrea, but I grew up in Ethiopia.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was in Kenya in 2006, and then when I was on a safari in Kenya, and then we went over to Tanzania, and I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. So that was
Wow.
quite an epic. I love Africa. Africa is a beautiful continent.
Yeah, but I didn't mean to interrupt you though.
No, absolutely. You can interrupt me anytime. It's your show.
I know, but I'm still don't want to get off track from what you were saying as far as the part in your journey. I'm interested to see your arrival to the States.
Yeah, and then from there, we lived in the north of England till I was the age of 10, and then we moved to London, and went to high school in England in the East End of London, which was kind of the rough part of London. Had to deal with a lot of racial prejudice and abuse and whatever, but that's just part of a journey of being an immigrant or a migrant, coming to another country. Sometimes they don't welcome you with open arms, but at the same time, there was a lot of good people as well, so you can't put down everybody. Just if there's a minority of people who show hatred, you can't blame the whole populace. And
Right.
I got my formal education in England, and then eventually I got into the technical field as more into computer repair, became a field service engineer for a large company in southern England. And then eventually moved to Los Angeles back in 1987 permanently. And I lived in Los Angeles for over 32 years. So I know downtown LA quite well. I guess I've lived in LA more than I've lived in England. And so again, I pursued my career as a field service engineer working for a large corporation, TRW, their computer maintenance division in Santa Fe Springs. And then eventually I got on to working for myself, started my own little business, ended up with a little computer repair shop in Hollywood,
Okay.
and near on Sunset near Highland. And then from there, in 1997, my spiritual master that I'd been following since the age of 16 passed away. And I got into a really deep depression because he was like a father figure to me. And so my wife at the time, she said, well, when you're in England, at the age of 15, I got in front of the school, made people laugh. And she said, well, you made people laugh and you're a drama school teacher. She said, that you should get into comedy and acting. And, at that time, my parents being immigrants, they would have nothing to do. No, you're not doing no comedy and acting,
Yeah.
math and science.
Yeah.
So I didn't get that opportunity. I wish I had, but then it wasn't meant to be. And so I decided to take some stand-up comedy lessons and started doing the open mics at the Laugh Factory and the Improv and the Comedy
Okay.
Store. And I was quite happy doing that. People like me putting a turban on my head and putting on an Indian accent, making them laugh.
But comedy is a tough business, though. Even a lot of people don't understand what it takes to do comedy
Stand-up
and to
comedy.
yeah, and just it's one of the hardest businesses out there. I've spent a little time with some comedians in Atlanta, and it's the same hustle.
Business.
Yeah,
It's a tough business, and classic. Some of the most depressed people I have ever met were stand-up comedians.
yeah,
because
they need somebody to make them laugh when they're making everybody else laugh.
Their high is getting up on stage and getting the reaction from the audience, and if they don't kill, boy, they get even more depressed. So some of the most messed up people I met were stand-up comedians. I remember I was at the Laugh Factory once, and I was with the owner, Jamie Masada, and he was critiquing the open micers. And so I had this turban on my head, and then Chris Rock walks in, and he looks at me and he shakes my hand. He goes, "Hey, I see you trying to be a comedian like me." There I was with a turban on my head, so I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But,
he said trying to be a comedian like me, huh?
Yeah, he was funny. Funny guy.
I understand it from a comedian to someone that's inspiring, and it's just I don't know. I've had I don't know if that was the thing that I would want to hear as far as you're necessarily trying to be a comedian like me versus understanding.
Well, it was Chris Rock, so
yeah, and I understand that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, if it was somebody else, I probably would have. But yeah, I mean, it was good to be in the stand-up scene for a while. I mean, I wasn't I wasn't one of those regular guys, doing stand-up. But I was happy just doing the open mics, and I actually got this one particular place where I actually hosted a comedy show, and I brought in comedians and musicians. So I was happy doing all that. And then this lady walked into my store one day, and I fixed her Apple computer. And she kept looking at me, and finally I said to her, well, why do you keep looking at me? She said, you have an interesting face. I said, so? She said, well, I'm a casting director. I said, so? Because I didn't know what a casting director was. She said, well, let's see if we can get you an agent. So she got me a commercial agent. And so I guess I was discovered in Hollywood.
At your shop, huh?
Yeah, and back in 1999, I booked my first commercial with Nike, and then I started booking national commercials, and the computer business went down the tubes because people like Circuit City, Best Buy, they were just sort of swallowing up all kinds of small stores, and so my computer business kind of went kaput, and I decided to, you thought that stand-up comedy was tough. Try being an actor in LA.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
I can only imagine. I've heard some of the horror stories. I drove Uber about the first year and a half I was here, and it helped me get kind of get used to the people in the area. So yeah, I've met some depressed actors.
Oh yeah, well,
There's another level of
LA.
depression. How would you rate those? Who would be? You got your comedians as depressed, or your actors? Which one would?
Yeah, you know what? The entertainment business can mess with your head. It can cause a lot of mental illnesses, depression, anxiety. Then on top of that, you have to take menial jobs. And so I worked as a limo driver, cab driver, super shuttle driver, security guard, valet guy, just so that during the day I could be open for auditions. So from being a field service engineer to a wannabe actor, it was a kind of a downscale. But the good thing was, as a union actor, I got steady work over the 20 years that I did it. So I think again being niched as a East Indian, or East Asian, because Hollywood loves the stereotype.
Yeah,
So there wasn't that many of us, as opposed to being like you know a white, blue-eyed, blonde. There's like thousands of
yeah,
nice-looking
Mm-hmm.
actors and actresses in Hollywood, so they have to really compete. Not saying that I didn't have to compete, but I still had to deal with a lot of rejection, and that's the thing with being in the business. You have to deal with 99% rejection, especially like
it hurts.
I remember. The hard part is it's not when you go to the first audition and they don't want you back. That's fine, but when you go to a first audition and then they call you back to a producer's session, and then they put you on a veil for the commercial, and then from a veil, of all the hundreds of people who submitted, it's down to like two or three left. The hardest one I had to deal was one for Metro PCS a few years ago. They just loved me and they wanted me in, and I thought I had it, and at the last minute they dropped me, and the guy who got it, and he's an associate of mine. I think he bought, because it was a series of commercials. He bought his house for $500,000 cash. So he made a lot of money on those
With that
commercials.
position.
So and it's like the lottery. Like you have it in your hand, and then it's just like suddenly, oh, like Jeopardy.
Yeah,
You think you're gonna win all this money, and then it just is taken away from you. 1 minute you think you have it, and next minute you don't.
yeah. I'm sure it definitely takes a toll emotionally, and as far as out here, you can see it breaks some people. It will literally break some people. As far as I have experienced street performing here in downtown LA, and yeah, I've seen a lot of broken people that they couldn't take, and they're just kind of, I would say, results of Hollywood. Just they got the worst part of Hollywood, from the depressing part, and then probably the drug addiction, if anything, and then they just weren't able to handle it. So hats off, just even up to now, from what we've heard, even dealing with L.A. and Hollywood and stuff like that. Hats off, because
Well, I would agree with you, because I got to the point, I reached my 50s and I'm still hustling, and I mean I did okay. I made a decent living, but I'm thinking, why am I working all night? I used to work downtown LA all night as a security guard near the Staples Center. And I'm thinking, why am I working all night to try to hustle during the day? It just got to the point where I reached the point where I just couldn't handle it, and I moved to Raleigh. And I got an agent here, but a lot of the work is in Atlanta and New York, it was around that time that I got my book published, and so I decided to pursue that more the message that that I've been some of the ideologies or the spiritual ideologies, and that I've kind of kept in the background for many years, following my own yogi master. And I thought, you know what, at this point in my life, maybe I need to focus on that. It's not for fame or fortune, but just because I believe, I have
Peace
a
of mind.
passion for not only peace of mind. I feel that people generally have not been exposed to certain truths, which the mainstream media hasn't talked about, and certain aspects of truth which have been revealed right now, which are fascinating, and what's actually going on. So yeah, coming back to acting and comedy, yeah, I mean, not many people make it. I mean, the top 1% make it, and then I would be considered as a top 5% because I actually made some money from my career.
Yeah.
And then you got the rest, going to auditions after auditions after auditions and not happening. And yeah, it can definitely mess, I agree with you, classic. It can really mess you up, especially the hardest part is I remember I did this one ABC family show, and the lead on that, she, the thing is, once you book like a commercial or a part in a movie or a sitcom, basically, on set, they treat you like royalty. They pamper you, they get your own dressing room, all the food you want, anything you want. And then after the gig, you go home and you ask your wife if you can get a glass of water, and she said, "Get it yourself." And so, it messes with your head. And I can relate to these child actors. They hit a sitcom, and then they get treated like royalty, and then suddenly the show's canceled, and they expect society to treat them the way they're treated on the set, and society doesn't care who you are, and they spiral into drugs, alcohol, all kinds of suicide. So yeah,
Along with bad friends as well. Yeah, that
and so this lead, the show got canceled. It didn't do a second season, so it got canceled.
mm-hmm.
And this poor girl, young girl, and a year later, I saw her at a commercial audition, hustling again. So, and before that, they were sending it to France, and they had a line of clothing in her name, and so it's not reality. It's I think it's an addiction, just like any other addiction.
Yeah, there's something that's programmed into us, and we get caught into it. And it's kind of how I felt after a while. I had to reevaluate some things. So, like with you having a spiritual foundation, kind of before getting into that, how important was meditation for you? Bless you.
Well, I'm glad you asked me that question, because I was, when I was in England, primarily I was raised as a Muslim, and I had to go to the mosque. I read the Quran, did the Arabic prayers, and at the same time, being in England, I went to Church of England schools where we had Bible study, Christmas hymns, carols, and all that. And so I got both sides of two religions, Islam and Christianity, and I enjoyed both. And I don't see any difference between religions. I think they're just different aspects going to the same divine principle. I'm very open to all religions. And it was at 16 in London that I met my own spiritual master, an Englishman by the name of Dr. George King. And then I decided to follow him, and I've been following him for the last 40 plus years. And, in these days of chaos and fear and tribulation, I think it's important, like you said, Classic, to go into yourself and go into meditation. and you know, and you know, prayer and meditation, I think, is essential for every human being. We're all, I consider ourselves, I think we're spiritual beings in physical bodies, not the other way around.
Yeah.
And those things, I agree with you. They're very essential. And I've been, you know, I've had like many people, have had a lot of ups and downs in my life. But one thing that I did do is keep my, you know, focus on my spiritual life and my spiritual path, following my own yogi master and his organization, the Ethereal Society. So I've been connected with metaphysics and spirituality for over 40 plus years.
What inspired you to write the book?
You know, just like with any um, any creative aspects, if you like painting a picture, or if you're a musician, or if you're an actor, or if you're a poet, I think writing again is classed as a creative, and it was something that just came to me. Initially, I got an email from some company saying that you know, that they would that I, you know, they would write my book for me. They would interview me, and all I had to do was do the audio, and they would do all the rest. And I think they wanted like $15,000. And I thought, you know what? I think I can write my own book. So it's just an inspiration, and then I just started writing it, because again, writing, you know, it's a creative process. You can't just suddenly say, I'm going to write a book. It has to come from within.
Yeah.
And so it was a way, of just transferring my life's experiences, my own spiritual experiences, my experiences with my yogi master, some of the truths that I learned along the way, and just putting them in a book. And it took a little while to publish. I just had a lot of hiccups along the road, but finally I got published last in August of 2020, just when COVID was starting up. And it was good timing, because people were interested. The title was called "The Struggle for World Sanity," and it was a befitting title in all the chaos that was occurring.
Yeah.
And I think the inspiration behind that, gypC, was that, today, we're just inundated with the media creating a lot of fear with not only the pandemic, but we're seeing endless wars and hatred between races and religions. We have an economic system that favors the rich are getting richer, and the working class are getting poorer. We have pollution, and we have ignorance. We've created a world that's in regression. So the inspiration behind the book was to offer a ray of hope, inspiration, so that, to let people know that the future is not going to be like that. We have actually a glorious future ahead of us. So despite what's happening right now, there are going to be major changes that are going to occur within the next few centuries on planet Earth.
Yeah. I can feel that coming as well. Yeah. So you mentioned your wife. Where did you meet your wife? In LA or before coming to LA?
Yeah, I met her in LA. Unfortunately, we parted ways. We were married for 12 years, and yeah, I met her in LA. So
Okay. You have kids and
we didn't have any kids, but have some pets, which we consider kids.
Those are kind of like kids now.
yeah. I guess to kind of go back to a little bit on LA, what was it like when you got here, when you first got to LA? What was your experience like? Well, not necessarily with the work wise, but just what did you think even from
it was very exciting, palm trees and sunshine and beaches,
Yeah.
compared to, the fog and rain of London, the
Mm.
congestion of London. It was very exciting, some very, very good times, hanging around the discos at the time. And I had hair on my head and, bell bottom pants and all that stuff. And yeah, it was fun. LA is a fun place. I'm not sure right now, all the terrible homelessness they have there now, right now, and the economy and the rents are so high. But yeah, it was very exciting to be in Southern California.
So was it a
Um,
big?
I
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I remember I worked when I was acting. I worked as a limo driver. I got to travel all around Southern California. That was really interesting. Picking up celebrities and multimillionaires at the airport, taking them to five-star hotels, and so that was going to A-list parties, taking them to A-list parties, red carpet events, and so that part of me I really enjoyed hanging around, mansions in Malibu, picking people up. So that was very enjoyable. You learn a lot, interacting with the rich and famous.
Yeah, I agree. Driving Uber, you get all kind of people that you pick up from the airport and stuff. It's the same thing, kind of. But I was gonna ask, what was the biggest change, or that was there like when you moved to you're in Riley, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the when you left LA going to Riley? How did you feel? Was it a good move, or what? Did you feel bad to leave LA, or was it something that you were looking forward to? I know it's a complete change. What was the biggest change to you that you quite noticed
Well,
besides the lack of palm trees?
yeah, I mean, North Carolina. I mean, I live in a small town outside of Raleigh called Cary, and it was considered a few years ago as one of the safest towns in America.
Wow.
So from the hustle and bustle of the big city, to suddenly be transported to quiet. The first thing I noticed was the quiet, because there's no quiet in LA. Wherever you go, there's helicopters and
Right.
cars
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
trains, and there's no peace of mind in LA, and unless you go up in the hills, you can get some peace of mind. But yeah, completely different. I mean, LA is my town. I still miss LA, and I'll probably come back and visit, but I'm not sure if I would come back to live right now, based on what I'm doing promoting the book. But yeah, complete different change.
Yeah, it would
Here.
definitely be nice to have you come in and do a in studio interview as well if you're ever in the area.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But small town, the people family orientated. You go for a walk, and people. That's one thing I noticed when I walked down the street. People smiled at me and waved, and I'm like, "Why are you smiling and waving at me? Nobody smiles and waves at you in LA, unless they
Yeah.
want something from you, right? They're gonna mug you or something." But
Southern
um,
hospitality.
Yeah.
anyway, that was just So in a way, it's nice. My family's here. It's nice to be with family. Um, but yeah, LA is, again, unless you have money or some kind of stability, LA can be a very cold town, as well. So I've seen that aspect as well.
Yeah. As far as some of the spiritual places like Sedona and a couple of places, that you ever visit any of those for just out of
I
curiosity?
never got to Sedona. I used to enjoy going to the Self Realization Fellowship has a beautiful um, little temple over by Pacific Palisades.
Hmm.
Not sure if you guys ever been there, but it's a very, very quiet, serene place. Um, also, there's a holy Mount Baldy is considered a holy spiritual mountain, not only by the Native Americans but also um, by my yogi master actually charged the mountain with energies. It's a very spiritual center. So I've done a few pilgrimages to Mount Baldy, and every year they have uh, last couple of years they haven't because of COVID, but once COVID goes away, but prior to that, they would have an annual pilgrimage to Mount Baldy where people from different religions would come together to the mountain and do their own particular prayers and send out energy for peace and healing. So that's a very, I used to enjoy going there. I've been hiking and to that mountain many times. So I find that very, and again, it doesn't. I mean, I think some of the most beautiful spiritual places are places like the beach or the mountains or just nature in itself. It doesn't have to be a particular temple, but of course, places like Monterey, Big Sur, those places. I mean, those are just heavenly places. Aspects of California which a lot of states or countries don't even have. So California is definitely a beautiful place.
I read in your bio you had some sort of encounter. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I when I was in England at the age of 18, I just joined my master's organization, the Ethereal Society, and I had this strong feeling that I had to be somewhere, and I couldn't ignore it. It was like I was being guided to go somewhere, and so on the third day I couldn't ignore it, and I got a map of England, and I traced my finger over it, trying to figure out psychically where I needed to be. And then my finger kind of pointed to this place near Stonehenge, a place called Salisbury. Outside of this place was a small area called Clearwater. And I don't know why, maybe telepathically I picked something up. Um, I guess I've always considered myself psychic as a child, even. Um, I think it's just aspects that I got to learn from previous lives. I'm a firm believer in reincarnation. I think the whole world needs to know about reincarnation. We can discuss that as well. But so I knew I had to be at that particular place on Friday at midnight. So I took the Greyhound, or the coach they call it in England, that Friday, and I got to Salisbury at 10:30, and I traveled through these country lanes in the dark, and then at midnight I hopped over this fence near this small lake, and I looked up, and from the I saw this circular white object fly over slowly from the west to the east, and it was obviously a UFO, and I thought, well, that's very interesting. I guess I'm in the right place. And then at 1:30 in the morning, another disc-shaped object, white disc-shaped object, came from the traveled from the south to the north, and for some weird reason, it kind of signified the sign of the cross. I don't know why. Of course, the sign of the cross is not only, it's a very ancient symbol, been used long before Christianity, used in Egypt and other civilizations. So I thought that was interesting. And then at 3 a.m. exactly, this much larger craft, space UFO or spacecraft, came over and hovered over where I was, about 100 meters above me. And this white light from the hull of the craft came out, and I could feel these tremendous spiritual energies flowing through me. And I was kind of in like a deep state of like spiritual ecstasy, and and then the craft slowly moved away. And I thought the thought that I got from the experience was, these beings that control these spacecraft or UFOs are not only advanced scientifically, but also very advanced spiritually. And they know about us, they care about us. And, I didn't know anything about UFOs or flying saucers at that time, but I thought it was a very interesting experience. Of course, being 18 at the time, I didn't tell anybody. It was something that was very personal to me. Plus, most people would think I was some kind of quack. And so I didn't really talk much about it, maybe to a few friends, and I let it go. And then I thought, I'd like to put that in the book to let people know, because now with technology and space exploration, people are more open now to life on other planets, to UFOs, extraterrestrial craft. And I think the majority of people surveyed, are pretty, no matter what the government or the media tell us anymore, that there are beings not only in this solar system and beyond that are watching us, that have been watching us for the last 18 million years. And the main thing is that they actually care for us. They're actually very spiritual beings that care for us and want us, based on our past history, which has been very, very destructive. They want us to, at this point in time in the history of mankind, they're pushing us to raise our own vibrations and not regress to where we were, to become to where we were at one time, which we were very advanced beings, not only scientifically but also spiritually. So they contacted my own yogi master back in the 50s and 60s, and some of the messages that they put through him were these messages of upliftment, asking, they regard mankind not as this race or that religion or that color, but as just one whole, part. And they're asking at this time that we as a race, stop the madness of what we created and start becoming that which we were, and which is our heritage. We didn't come to this planet to suffer. We came here to raise our consciousness and go into deep meditative states, and eventually gain, high aspects of enlightenment, like nirvana or cosmic consciousness, and then eventually learn all the lessons that we're supposed to learn, and then move on and go to other different planets or planes of existence. So from that early age, I just got that feeling that, we're not alone, and we've never been left alone. These days, I can't put my faith in any politician. I can't put my faith in any orthodox religious leader. I can't put my faith in the generals, but I can put my faith in people like Krishna and Buddha and Jesus, who I believe were highly advanced beings from different spheres. And what they're saying is that we need to go back to the, not religious teachings, but the spiritual teachings of, things like that, thou shalt not kill, loving your neighbor as yourself, and going and not being hypocritical, but actually being genuinely caring about each other. And that's the crux of the message that these higher beings have been putting through my yogi master. And so that's why I decided, again, another aspect of writing the book is to reveal some of these teachings that are being propounded in these days.
What do you think will be one of the, well, trying to introduce like meditation to beginners, or to, a lot of people are already kind of brainwashed in the daily, corrupt system that we're basically in. So some people that, you notice that they're basically spiritually, they know some things, but they've also kind of went back into, I'd rather stay on this vibration. What is it that, you know, you can't change everybody. You can't wake people up. You can't do certain things. What are some approaches when you have, you know, it could be people close to you or people that you're dealing with that, you know, at a certain point before all of this, there was a certain type of, you know, knowledge that they had, or they knew that this system here exists. And then now you feel like, okay, I know that that system existed. We've talked about that system before, but I'm okay in the 3D. What's some of the ways to cope with that, dealing with, you know, the time that we're in? Because even over the past 2 years, a lot of people they've kind of lost their sanity on this reality that we're in. So what are some of the, I guess, the tips? I haven't had a chance to read the book, so I'm not sure if that's in there as well, but some of the tips that, you know, you would offer some people to kind of cope with that. Because I've listened to some people that, you know, you can tell that whether it's, you know, you're talking about the cold that's out there, or, you know, they don't know whether to be scared or whether to go and get the help that's being offered. And you don't know what to tell those people. You're confident in where you are spiritually, and you know where you stand on this rock at this time, or on this earth at this time. How can you give somebody else just a little bit of confidence or guidance without scaring them?
Well, the thing is, I think we've been manipulated and hypnotized over the centuries to the point where, you know, the pandemic increased fear, and fear is a weapon that's been used by the minority of people in power to control the masses. You know, fear, division, hatred. And so what we need to do is, you know, what one thing the pandemic did do, it gave a chance for people to think, and a lot of people changed their careers. They changed, you know, a lot of people quit their jobs and they decided to do what they wanted to do. I think that's what I kind of did myself, was kind of get into something that, you know, instead of the acting and looking for the fame and fortune, but more going into the spiritual, the real aspects of why we're here. You know, what is our purpose in life? And you know, it's not to amass riches or fame or fortune. Of course, we need material things. We need a house, we need a roof over our head, we need food, we need some money in the bank, we need a car. I mean, of course, we need all those basic necessities. But you know, after that, that's one thing I noticed when I was in Africa, when I went to the villages in Kenya, well, actually in Tanzania. I noticed that the villagers and the children were very happy. You know, they didn't have this, they didn't have a mortgage or a credit card or, you know, bills. I mean, they lived very, very modestly from the land, but they were very happy spiritual people. And so they didn't have this, you know, this materialistic prison that's been created in right these days. You know, everybody wants the latest iPhone, everybody wants the latest, you know, BMW 8 or 7 or whatever. And it's just, you know, the material things bring some happiness, but after a little while, they don't bring that inner contentment. And so there's two aspects of what's happening right now. Classic is that, you know, we're in this age now, the age of Aquarius, which astrologically is forcing mankind to start thinking globally, to start being of service, to help not only their friends and family or their town or country, but the whole world. And so that aspect is being pushed on us. Another aspect is that the earth herself is a living, breathing goddess, which people are not aware of. but we've raped and pillaged her for many centuries without giving anything back. And she, as a planetary entity, is also raising her vibrations. And then on top of that, we have inspiration and influence from the higher beings who watch over us. So we're slowly being asked to raise our vibrations. And so it doesn't matter what religion, creed, color, race, or orientation that you are. The message of the day is not follow us and do what we do. Is that the message of the day is service and love for mankind, and that's the only solution. Sending out spiritual power, the same healing power that Jesus did 2,000 years ago to heal the sick and cure the blind and help the lepers. It's that energy which is being asked of, because nothing else has worked. So there is a spiritual renaissance that started this, where eventually in the centuries to come, the vibrations will be heightened, and only those people who can align themselves to this vibration will be able to stay on the planet. But there is a new age of peace and enlightenment that not might, but is coming on to planet Earth, where there will be no political system, there will be no wars, hydrogen bombs, there will be no races as such. There will just be open land and sea, and that's our destiny. And so I believe that this is the beginning of the end of mankind as we know mankind. So we've hit the crossroads. Either we keep regressing and create more problems, or we're given an opportunity now to raise ourselves. And again, on a spiritual level, just sending out this healing pranic energy that comes from the sun. You can just raise your hand, send out light from the palms of your hand and from your heart center, and send this white light and transmute the planet of this mental madness, the hatred and the envy and the greed that's just enveloped our planet right now, and the depression and the anxiety and the fear. So it's a mental war that we're in the middle of, and what we're being asked to at this time is to raise our vibrations by sending out this white light of healing to every man, woman, child, animal, rock, plant on the planet. And it's that simple. It's not rocket science. It's that simple. It's not complicated. And because it's not complicated, I think it goes over a lot of people's heads.
Yeah. To just kind of, well, I know meditation is one of the, it's harder than a lot of average people think that it is, as far as when you sit down for 5 minutes, most people are used to having headphones on and music playing and everything else. So when they sit down for 5 minutes, it's like, I can't do it. Not knowing, how much, noise is going on in the head, or just how much it affects them spiritually. So,
well, meditation is very difficult. I mean, it's very difficult to control our thoughts. That's just the way we are, and to bring those thoughts together. If people have difficulty meditation, I would suggest, going out to the country, going to the beach, instead of like trying to put some headphones on, trying to meditate in the city, go out to the country, go to the mountains, and just be one with nature and meditate there. I think that'd be more beneficial.
Right. I was saying that most people are used to having headphones on, just
having
period, daily. Yeah. Listening to something. They can't sit in silence, if it's quiet for too long. Yeah.
Look at YouTube, look at TikTok now, like 10-second, videos, and people are hooked on, and they're watching 10-second videos, hit this, that, and the other. It's just messing up their minds.
Yeah.
Just constant distractions. And meditation is slowing down the mind, slowing down the breathing. And so all these distractions, looking down on your smartphone and being a slave to the smartphone with all these distractions, doesn't help people to start realizing, the truths, and our inner selves. And sometimes it's a case of walking away. I mean, you don't have to say, "Oh, completely stop." I mean, we all need a little entertainment, but not, hours and hours of that.
It controls you,
Just
basically.
yeah, to let it control you and just detach from that. And parents, even with kids, should have some quality time where they just, I know schools in China and Japan and India and all that, they're teaching their kids meditation,
Yeah.
right? The mind, breathing, and so in this chaos and madness, that's what the kids need to be taught more, instead of watching TikTok for hours on hours on useless mind mush that doesn't really inspire or do anything at all. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely agree. I don't know how old I was. I know I was in college when I first learned about meditation more. Prayer. Growing up in the South, of course, raised Christian. Prayer was one thing, but after learning about meditation and understanding it's definitely two different things: meditation and prayer. Um, so I could say myself, we weren't taught or we weren't educated on meditation as far as when I was growing up.
No, I think I was an adult when I first learned about it. And I
Yeah.
basically watched YouTube videos and
Well,
followed
Dr.
them.
King wrote a very interesting book called The Nine Freedoms, and it's available in Amazon. And people want to read that. He goes through the history of the world, of mankind, but he talked about aspects of what it needs to gain deep states of meditation. And one of them, is concentration, is concentrating the thoughts, applying the thoughts, bring in the thoughts. The Buddhists talk about mindfulness, watching your thoughts, and then eventually you become a master of your thoughts and not let the thoughts, control you. And so that's the first aspect of meditation, is mindfulness, you know, looking at your thoughts, allowing them, putting to one side, and then focusing on, going within. And some yoga breathing exercises are extremely good as a preliminary for meditation, where they say that the more deeper that you breathe, the more your thinking is stilled and becomes deeper. So so instead of shallow breaths and watching TikToks, you can go in and do some deep breathing to calm the mind as a prerequisite to before you do meditation. So calming the mind, breathing deeply, and then focusing within. Uh, you know, I think it's just like riding a bicycle. The more you do, the better you get.
Yeah. The
So
longer you
it's
can
like,
go as well.
It's interesting. I was going to say
yeah, I know when I
earlier.
was
Oh, sorry. Not to cut you off. Go ahead.
I remember when in the technical field, when I was trying to fix something, I was terrified. I didn't know what to do, and eventually, the more I did it, the better I got. And I think the same with medicine, with meditation and controlling the mind. It's a case of just working at it. It's not easy. Of course, it's not easy. But then you get states where, you know, people like the Buddha went into high, deep meditative states and gain enlightenment, and that's the ultimate goal. Um, in the Christian mystics went into deep meditation. The Islamic yogi Sufis, the Hindus, the yogi masters of India. So the higher aspects of religion is going into the mystical aspects of delving deep within ourselves and discovering, the divinity within ourselves, and realizing that, we're not just physical beings, that we have a soul, we have a spirit. And it's a case of the soul contacting the spirit within, and raising that consciousness, and having some contact with that divinity within us, which is again our true heritage. Again, we didn't come here to make war against man or control people through economic. These are just these are just aspects of our, self-will, which has run riot, and which has caused a lot of terrible suffering. And we didn't come here to suffer. We're supposed to be happy, joyous, and free. And one way that we can do that is to go within, and then also at the same time balance it by sending out the energy of love, LOVE, out to the world on a regular basis. That's I think the simple things in life. They say God is simplicity. It's a case of getting back to simple, natural aspects of life, because we've complicated our lives so much. Everything's so complicated, and you know and we're just being inundated with information and videos and noise and all that, and it's not really part of what we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be very serene, individuals, and we're supposed to exert this inner happiness or inner joy, and which is again reachable for every one of us. But like Lao Tse used to say, the journey of a thousand miles starts with a single step. I remember climbing when I climbed Kilimanjaro, the you know the mountain guides, they had a saying in Swahili, was like pole pole, slowly slowly. You can't climb a mountain trying to run up the mountain. So it's like that with meditation. You start slowly, but you have to start somewhere, right?
Yeah. It's not about speed. Nothing in meditation has to do with doing anything fast. Yeah. I was gonna ask. You mentioned reincarnation. How does what were some of the confirmations that you received spiritually to kind of guide you towards having a view on you possibly being, or just being reincarnated, all of us, as far as you
Well,
knowing.
I
I'm sorry.
yeah, I mean, it's a very valid question, Classic. I mean, reincarnation is a fact. It's not even debatable, because so many children, especially when in their younger years, they remember their past life. I remembered a past life when I was younger, which was validated by my master. I wrote about that in the book. Um, you can research the internet. There's so many cases of reincarnation, but it also answers this so-called inequality on the planet. Why somebody's born rich or somebody's born poor, somebody's born crippled, somebody's born you know as a genius by the age of 10, or somebody is plays the piano at the age of 3. And so people think, oh, wow, this is amazing, but it's not amazing at all. You don't get something for nothing in life, and we get exactly what we deserve. And so these are just skills that we brought along with us from previous lives. If reincarnation was actually, speaking of the Christian religion, some Christian scholars, I think it was in the London newspaper Daily Express years ago, they did some research, and they found out that actually reincarnation was taught in the Christian church up till 700 years ago, where they changed it in order to create this so-called one life to live, in order to control the mass, in order to control the masses. But people, if they knew about reincarnation, they would think twice before they went to war, thinking that they may have to murder a brother or a sister or mother or father that they knew in their previous lives. So, it, you know, there was a case of a very interesting case of reincarnation. This woman in England, she kept remembering her children. She died during childbirth, and she remembered her children from a previous life. and she remembered the town that she lived in. And so finally she went with her husband to this town in Ireland. They went over there, and they found these children who were now in their 80s, and she's 35. And she recollected with them the stories that she had with them when they were children. And so they were asked by the TV crew. They said, "Do you think this is your mother in the that's reincarnated?" And these people in their 80s, they say, "Yeah, this is our mother," because there's no way that she could have remembered all these things with her children, before she died. So that was a very interesting case. There was another case of a young child who was having nightmares about World War II. He was a fighter pilot, got shot down, and he could remember his squadron and the names of his comrades in that squadron and where they were located. So his parents took him back to that area where he said he lived in his past life, and sure enough, it was totally validated that he knew these people. So there's and again, you can people don't have to believe me. They can do their own research, and there's so much overwhelming evidence right now for reincarnation that you really can't argue with it. But it's an aspect, for one thing, if reincarnation is taught, there won't be anything. People can't be into like national pride. Well, I'm proud I'm a white person, or I'm proud I'm a brown person, or I'm proud being in this religion, or I'm proud because this religion is better than that religion. They'll have to remember that we're here. You may be here as a particular race or religion, but it's not guaranteed that when you come back, you may be a man, you may come back as a woman. You may be a white person, you may come back as a black person in the next life. So all this racial prejudice and hatred between races and religions, that would diminish immediately, knowing that we're all races. We come in different religions, different races, in order to learn all these experiences that we need to learn. How can we gain enlightenment unless we understand all aspects of our life and all aspects of what we need to learn on this planet? So this is a great classroom, Earth, and we reincarnate life after life, learn lessons that we need to learn, and eventually we get to the point where we learn these lessons, and we can become a Jesus or a Buddha or a Krishna, and become an adept or a master, and that's our heritage. That's initially what we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be gods, not the kind of people that we've got ourselves into right now.
Yeah. At what age, do you think our memory of for I guess for some of those that kind of have that little bit of memory as a youth, what age do you think for most average kids do you think that spiritually
I think
it starts to fade?
recollecting. Yeah, they start recollecting, from the age of 3 to maybe 5, and then their parents put them down because they think they're having fantasies. There was this young girl in India. She remembered being living in a castle in Scotland as a lord of the manor. This 8-year-old girl from India, recollecting that she lived in this castle in Scotland as a man. Where do these things come from? They can't just suddenly come from your imagination. And she knew in detail exactly where this castle was and everything. So what happens is, as a young kid, we get recollections of past lives, and then eventually, the parents dismiss it, and then eventually we, I think there's a reason why we come sometimes with we don't have knowledge of our past lives. There's a reason for that. I think it's probably mercy, because we have enough to deal with in this life, and I don't want to go into a past life and know stuff that I did that I'm not proud of. So I think eventually they say when you reach a certain stage of enlightenment, you can remember your past lives, but you can look at them objectively. So right now, personally, I don't go into my past lives or try to figure out who I was. Right now, I just focus. I think we just need to focus on our present life because we've got enough baggage to handle with our present life, um, and just our past in our present life. And so, but it's important to know that that we've had millions of previous lives. So this is not the one and end of, and eventually we'll pass, and there's no such thing as death. We just go to a different level of existence, and we stay on that level, and then we come back, and on this physical realm, and then we pass and go to the other higher realms. And if you study Hindu and Buddhist philosophies, they talk about different levels of existence. My own master, Dr. King, was able to project to these different realms of existence. He said there were 6 levels above us and 4 levels below us. The 4 levels below, the lower astral realms, or the lower planes, and then we have the higher planes. And then we die. When we die, we go according to, there's no judgment. We just go according to our own vibrational sequence. So if we've lived a life that's been spiritual, we go to a higher spiritual realm. But if we've been a mass murderer, or you know or doing evil things, we again, our vibration goes to those particular realms, and we have to live in those lower realms. So it goes back to the original law, which is the law of karma, action and reaction being opposite and equal. See, if people understand reincarnation and the law of karma, tomorrow the whole world will be different. I mean, I just saw in the news the other day, these 4 guys jumped this guy and beat him up and mugged him and took his money. What they don't, obviously they don't understand the law of karma, because the law of karma, not like man's law, the law of karma is absolutely unjust. So, it's been said that if like those 4 guys, if they knew the law of karma, they know that because they mugged and robbed that guy, they too, maybe not in this life, maybe in the next life, will be mugged and robbed themselves. I mean, it's just that just.
Yeah.
That if you murder somebody, you may get away with it in this life, but in the next life, you will probably get murdered yourself. Not as a punishment, because they say, the karma doesn't punish, but it's to teach you that you don't go around killing people, or you don't go around mugging. And
Or killing yourself.
I know you don't want to kill yourself either. That's also because that's they say if you kill yourself, you'll be charged with your own murder. But I know all the stuff that I've done that's been detrimental in my life has all kind of come back to me as well. I was never born with a halo and wings. We all make mistakes. We all do things that we regret, and it's come back to me. But also some of the good things has also come back to me. So I think those are the things that need to be taught to children in school, and before math and science and Disney Channel, is the law of karma. You're responsible for your actions. Reincarnation, all those things need to be taught to children, especially the law of karma. That, you're absolutely allowed to do anything you want, so long as you're willing to face the consequences. So, and again, it goes to ignorance. People are ignorant. That's why they murder, they thieve, they swindle people. If you swindle somebody, you will be swindled yourself. I mean, you get back exactly what you put in. Jesus said, "As you sow, so shall you reap." I think the Lord Buddha said, action and reaction is opposite and equal, and that's an aspect of the divine law. And we can't escape that. I mean, you can have a great lawyer with money, and you can get away with murder, But if you did really murder, you will be murdered in this life or the next life. It's guaranteed. Again, not to punish you, but to teach you that these are the things that you don't do.
I've had some like
So basically,
oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna ask. I've had experience with like having a dream at night that feels real. How would you explain that? Would you say that sometimes maybe a dream at night could be connected to another dimension or another life, or what's your view on dreams?
Dreams, if they're real like that, I think they are real that you had, because they say that when we sleep, part of our consciousness, our astral body, leaves our physical body, and we do wander to these different realms at night. And sometimes you can get really heavy duty nightmares, which are real, and you could be actually be wandering into some of these lower realms, or you could have dreams where you're on a mountaintop or flying over the ocean. You're on some higher realm. But yeah, we all project at night. We don't consciously know where we go, and that's why it's important, like in deep aspects of meditation, you can eventually uh, project from your body. It's called astral projection, where you can have complete control of your astral body, and you know exactly where you've been consciously and come back into the body. But sleep is definitely a form of projection. And so yeah, those things are real. They're not a flight of fancy, especially if they're colorful and you actually feel that it feels physical. One thing you have to remember, that these different dimensions are just as physical. You're just in a different vibration. Dr. King said that if you're on a different level of existence, and you were near a wall and you hit your head on that wall, you would actually hurt your head, because you're on that same vibrational sequence as so these realms are just as physical as this particular realm is. You sit on a chair, it's a real chair. It's just on a more subtle, higher vibrational sequence than this particular. So, you can't analyze every dream, but some where they're very colorful and you definitely feel like it's real. I think it's a projection, and I think you're actually where at that particular place. Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I actually tried to astral project or lucid dream before. I've I've heard about it on YouTube and actually tried to do it, but I know it's pretty tough. And that's kind of
Yeah,
how I
you've
got
got.
into meditation, because they say that helps too.
Yeah, you got to be kind of careful when you're dealing with that, unless you
Yeah.
have control, because you could kind of wander to different places, and so you got to be careful of that. But yeah, dreams are just projections sometimes. I'm just waiting to dream of winning the lottery numbers, but that hasn't happened yet.
Well,
That actually happened to a few people. Did you know that? I was looking
Really?
at this documentary. The woman had a dream of the lottery numbers, and she put those lottery numbers, and she won the lottery. So I thought that was very interesting. So
wow.
again, that comes to, well, destiny. Was she destined to win the lottery? You know what I'm saying? She had a dream that she won the lottery, and then she won the lottery. So then you have to question, well, are our lives destined, or are they just something that's just here, there, and everywhere? I think part of our lives are predestined, and it's up to us what we do. I think our higher power predestines our life before we come, and then it's up to us, if when we follow that predestination, if we follow it for good or for bad. But deja vu. I mean, I'm sure everybody has deja vu, where you go somewhere and you think, I've been here before, or I had a dream that I was supposed to be here. So again, you have to look at are we destined in our lives to do things? Somebody psychics can sometimes see things that you're supposed to do. I know my master, 6 years before I got that Nike commercial, saw me doing that Nike commercial. So go figure, was I destined to do that commercial? That's a food for thought, right?
Yeah. It's hard to say. I know a couple of people have said some things that I'm supposed to be destined to do, and it's like, oh, still looking at those things. And I guess being here, having the podcast, it's still in that, direction. I feel is some of those things, to talk to people like you and to learn, and also to be able to inspire others is one of the ways. But before they always looked at it with the music for me. To inspire people with my music, but that's a different chapter.
Well, everything's a form of service. If you do music to inspire people, you do podcasts to inspire people, you're being of service. You're giving them something, food for thought, some inspiration that raises their vibration. All these are aspects of service. Absolutely, I agree.
Okay. Do you have any people you can recommend, or any yogis or spiritual guides that you would like to recommend for people to read up on or to follow?
Well, my go-to would have to be my own yogi master, Dr. George King and his organization, the Ethereal Society. So if people want to inquire more about that, they can go to the website, which is aetherius.org, AETHERIUS.org. I guess I can give you that information. You can put up on the podcast.
Yeah, we'll put it in the description.
Yeah. So another, if people are interested in sending out the energy, there's a practice that was given called the 12 blessings, where my yogi master channeled information from no less person than the Master Jesus himself. It was an extension of the Sermon of the Mount, which was which he took through as 12 different transmissions over 12 weeks in 1958. And so I belong to a group that we send out this energy, like 30, 40 different countries every day. And so if people are interested in learning how to send out the light, they can join. There's no money involved. It's free. They can go to 12blessings.org, the 12 being numerical. So those are the two recommendations I would personally like to give to your listeners.
Okay.
And also, Ethereal Society, they have courses on, concentration, meditation, and teachings on the true aspects of meditation that people want to learn. So it may, like I say, in true meditation, some of the yogi masters, they go into this process called conscious death, where the heart stops beating. I mean, this is true meditation, and they raise their consciousness up to the heart center or the throat center or the center in the forehead, and experience tremendous, highly elevated experiences, but their physical body is completely paralyzed. So those are the deeper aspects of meditation that eventually that will reach down the road. Yeah. So, I mean, some aspects of meditation, they can levitate, they can go through walls. They raise their vibrations. They can go put their body through walls and become transparent. I mean, some of the powers of some of these yogi masters are just absolutely incredible. Something that science will not know for many, many thousands of years. They say what the metaphysician or the yogi knows now, science, we'll talk about, down the road. So it's better to follow the natural sciences, the sciences of nature, and to follow those than to, than to explode hydrogen and atom bombs, which, destroy. And, it's weird, isn't it, Classic, that the best brains on the planet focusing on, destruction and the more, latest weaponry or latest missile. I think we're
Wow. I don't know. I don't know if you could call those the best brains then.
some of the brightest brains, but
yeah,
we've been referred to by the cosmic beings as a very warlike, savage race. It's probably why they're not landing right now.
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't think they would get a nice reception right now if they suddenly landed. So they're just observing us from a distance. But I think eventually they will. Eventually they will. It's been said that a great master will come. I think he'll come openly on a spacecraft. I think, and show powers like Moses did in the old, like part the Red Sea. I think I think mankind needs something that powerful as a demonstration. He probably won't kill anybody, but he will demonstrate powers that will and eventually lead people into this new age, this new spiritual age that's coming. And unfortunately, those who don't heed that, it's been said that after death, they'll be reincarnated on another planet to start over the evolutionary cycle that we've created on this planet. So that's also been predicted as well. So another reason why it's important at this time to rally and raise up, en masse in peace. That's what's needed at this particular time.
I agree.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to discuss with us? I know we're kind of reaching a couple of pauses.
I think personally, I think that's we can yeah. I think we've discussed pretty much what. I don't think I can go any. I mean, we can go into different aspects of life on other planets and all that. But if people want to do that, they can.
And this isn't it doesn't have to be. It's not a one-time only type of thing as well. Because I've loved to have you back.
Yeah, I think we can wrap it up. And I would suggest if people want to learn more about what I've discussed, is maybe read my book, The Struggle for World Sanity. They can get that on Amazon. It's on ebook, print book, and audiobook. And also they can go to my website. I have a website called wajidauthor.com, WAJIDAUTHOR.com. I think classic and gypsy, I think what we discussed is more than food for thought for your listeners.
Yeah. Even for me.
We don't want to go any deeper,
Yeah. But definitely want you to, as far as look forward to another conversation as well, because absolutely. I know one of the other co-hosts that we have here, Mercedes, we started having her once a week. I'm sure she would like to have some questions for you as well. Absolutely. On another.
Yeah, I'd love to come back.
Yeah. So we definitely, it's been a pleasure having you, and even just talking with you, and just what I've learned is, it's definitely food for thought, even just for me. Yeah. And I look forward to talking with you again.
Yep. Definitely reading your book. And for the listeners, thank you for listening. You can find this podcast on all podcast platforms. And also the video will be on American gypC YouTube channel. And thank you for listening. And Wajid, thank you for being here.
Any platforms they can follow you on?
Yes, definitely. Let them know where they can find you.
They could go to my website, which is wajidauthor.com, WAJIDAUTHOR.com, Wajid Author.
And we'll have all of this information on the description for you.
Okay. Thank you so much.
It's been great talking with you. And thank you for everyone that's listening. Definitely subscribe if you're not subscribed. And consistent self-improvement.
Peace.
Peace.
Thank you.